If you find my video useful, please subscribe. Thank you.
All right, today I'm going to be showing you how to change out the bathtub diverter, also known as the spigot, but diverter is what will look up the right part for you. The key is to make sure you get the same size part, right? So this is a 5-inch diverter, so we got a 5-inch tub spout that's going to replace this. The reason that we need to replace this is because when I turn on the water and I pull up the stem, it does not appropriately divert all the flow to the shower head. So we need to replace the diverter so that we get an appropriate shower, all right? So first things first, we'll go ahead and turn that water off. Make sure that you have the right part to replace it, because if not, if you have too long or too short, it won't fit on the stem that's inside here. And the first thing is to take this one off. So first things first, they should have a good seal around here, and it does. There's a nice bead of silicone around here. Whoever installed it did the appropriate thing. So we're gonna take that bead of silicone off. You can use a box cutter, you can use a screwdriver, doesn't matter. Just make sure you're not damaging whatever's around it, but mine's tile, so it's not gonna hurt it. And then once that's loose, you can literally just unscrew this. This should be screwed on, right? So we'll go ahead and unscrew this. Now, as you unscrew it, you'll see that this will end up lining up here, and this is a screw holding that in, but you can just undo this whole thing to get a look at it first. And what you'll see is they actually already put the stem on this copper pipe here. So this stem's already been installed. So we can just check that stem to make sure it doesn't have any leaking. So I'm not gonna mess with this stem, but if that's, all right, so we're just gonna make sure that that's screwed on there nice and tight. It is. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure this set screw is nice and tight. It is. Now let's go ahead and install our new faucet. First thing is you can take all this silicone off. I just used a metal putty knife and scraped all that old silicone off there, get that surface nice and clean. All right, your new part comes with a lot of stuff that we actually won't need. So we can actually take out this insert because ours already has the stem. So let's go ahead and screw this piece out. All right, so we took that stem out, and now you'll just see that that has a screw-in part for the housing, and it should fit probably directly on that nipple, but let's go ahead and put some Teflon tape on that nipple to get a nice tight seal. So I was always taught to wrap the Teflon tape in the direction that you're gonna be screwing something on, so you're not loosening the Teflon tape as you're putting it on. So we're gonna wrap it in that direction. It's hard to do with one hand, so give me 1 second. All right, I was always taught like 3 to 4 wraps. You don't want to do more than that because it'll be too hard to put the new object on, but it's meant to get you a nice watertight seal. All right, let's put the new faucet on. The perks of buying the right part is that this should just literally screw it on. All right, so we're just gonna literally go until it hits against that tile nice and tight. And there I can feel it getting a little tight there.
All right, so let's say when you put that diverter on, it doesn't sit flush against the wall. So maybe you have to move this piece out. You can either loosen that screw and slide this in or out, depending on how you need to adjust it, or we could just install the piece that came with the kit, and we know that that will be the appropriate fit and it's new.
All right, so you can see how that was done there. Now, the new kit, the way it's designed is it has 3 very simple pieces. This piece first sits in the block cutout, just like that. So that's gonna sit right in there, okay? And then you have this rubber piece that goes over the copper, and that's what's gonna make us our watertight seal. So that goes there, right there like that, all right? And then this piece screws on over top of that, and it compresses that rubber gasket into itself. And then you gotta make that nice and tight. And once that's tight, that should give you a nice watertight seal. So let's check it out. Cool, so what I don't see is any water flowing backwards. And the real way to check that is to put your finger over here. And look, it's acting as a diverter. So there you go. So now you know that that's not backflowing, because you want to double check, is that leaking? I don't see any water coming from that. So I know that I have a tight seal based on that fact that rubber grommet was in place, and then I'm diverting the water appropriately. And I didn't even put it on full blast, so we can go ahead and turn it off now. Make sure that's tight one more time. That's as tight as I'm gonna get it. Let's go ahead and dry that off and put our stem back on, okay? All right, that's all dried off. So now let's go ahead and get our Teflon tape here on this plastic to make sure we get a watertight seal. So we'll go ahead and do 4 wraps here. All right, now we have 4 good wraps of Teflon tape.
As you can see here, that's too far recessed. Now this tub diverter won't screw on there. So let's show you how to use one of the other pieces in the kit. This way you've seen all the different approaches.
All right, so let's say you try the square piece, and when you put the square piece all the way in here, it sits too far back, okay? It will come with another piece, and this piece you can adjust how far you need to, okay? So on ours, it's gonna be pretty far back. It's like pretty much the whole way back. And I'm gonna tighten that down right there. And this is going to keep this from moving back and forth, okay? So first we'll tighten that down. And you can have that facing however you need to. For me, I'm going to have it facing like that because I can't get it to it any other way. And then I'm going to tighten this down as a set screw, all right? Now, once that's tight, you'll notice it can't turn, it can't pull back and forth, okay? So now we need to put on our washer, because this is what makes us have that watertight seal. Because you can see that lip here fits the end of this washer into it slowly, okay? And then the compression fitting. So now we're gonna put this piece on top and it'll press seal that washer into there, and you're gonna tighten this all the way, okay? So I got a pair of channel locks here just to make sure I got that tight all the way. Alright, so that's pretty tight. And then we're going to go ahead and put our sealant here, our Teflon tape again, and then we'll tighten this back in. So this is for those people that if this block didn't work or was too far, you can go ahead and use this one next, okay? Sometimes you might have to use a combination of these 2 blocks, but that's why you have all these different pieces. All right, let's go ahead and tighten this on. And you want to be able to get at least like 5 or 6 turns on there, because if not, then you're probably not getting a good seal, right? So this is about my 5th turn, and you can hear it starting to scrape the tile, which means you know it's tight. So now that right there is looking pretty good. So I'm just making sure it's nice and straight before we do a final mount. Probably just a little bit more of a turn, right about there. All right.
All right, so let's go ahead and check it. So let's turn on our water, pull up our diverter spout, and then make sure that we don't have any leaking from the diverter and that we have a good shower stream. Look at that, everything looks good. So now just make sure you silicone around that base and you're done. If you find my video useful, please subscribe. Thank you.